I had the opportunity just to listen in to a few of the sessions this afternoon. Incredible work that this community is doing. And as Monica said, I'm particularly excited to be here because of the journey I'm privileged to lead at Bayer, where we're undertaking really a journey of historic proportions to take one of the world's large, iconic life sciences organizations, 100,000 people operating in more than 100 countries around the world, and we're taking it through a fundamental transformative journey to move beyond the traditional hierarchy and bureaucracy and siloed reality of typical large organizations, and to transform ourselves into a network of entrepreneurial businesses, really focused on customers and innovation. So it feels very much, the energy and the kind of gestalt in this room is I want to permeate throughout Bayer around the world. So really beautiful. A quick example of what we're starting to see as we're about 10 months into our journey. We've already set up hundreds of entrepreneurial teams across the organization. Recently, one of our teams in Italy, newly empowered and newly inspired to start operating with a different set of mindsets and practices, which, as Monica mentioned, we call dynamic shared ownership, decided they were going to spend more time with customers, with doctors, providers, and do so not to try and sell something to them, but to actually practice deep listening. And they went to visit one of the doctors we work with in Italy who treats patients who have hemophilia. And they were just asking, to learn more about the challenges the doctor faces. And he said, well, you should really talk to the patient. I actually happen to have a patient here. Do you want to go talk to the person? And the team said, yeah, fantastic. So they went and spoke to the patient, and they said to the patient, and they got to know the patient a bit, and they said, what challenges are you facing? And the patient described that the treatment that Bayer provides requires 2 syringes to inject the medicine into an arm, and it's difficult to manage 2 syringes while I'm putting, I've got to put one into my arm, and then I've got to swap it with the other. And the Bayer team said, no problem. We've got a solution for you. We're going to create a single syringe solution. And it's going to be available as soon as 2026. And the patient's face fell. This was in November last year. And the team realized that while for them, 2026 seemed really soon, because in the life cycle of life sciences innovation, which extends over 10 or 15 years, that's pretty quick. To the patient, that seemed like forever. And so they went away and thought, what can we do about that? And they came up with the idea of a simple little device that sits on the arm and that actually holds 2 syringes. And tested this out. They came up with that idea in January. They started testing it out in February. And then they decided at the beginning of the second quarter this year, April of this year, to start distributing it to every hemophilia patient we have in the world. So it was a very simple, quick innovation that really had an impact on these patients and helped address a really specific patient need. And so this is the kind of innovation entrepreneurship that we're starting to see within the organization. As you all know, when you seek to transform a system, many of your innovations are really system-level changes, and the same for partners. As you bring your innovations into the world, it's not a trivial thing to do. To seek to transform an organization like Bayer with a 160-year history, to seek to shift the ecosystem within which any of you are operating is an enormous challenge. There's a lot of embedded interests and investment and sort of muscle memory built around the existing system and the existing ways of doing things. And so what we have learned is that it requires a different kind of leadership to build and scale ventures, businesses, entrepreneurial businesses, and in our case, to build an organization that is seeking to be a network of thousands of entrepreneurial businesses. We're doing this in order to unleash the full potential of the organization. We, of course, like other large companies, invest billions of dollars every year. We have the collective energy of, as I said, 100,000 people. And too much of that is not being directed in truly value-creating ways. And so we're starting to introduce to our leaders across the world a new approach to leadership. And it goes by the acronym of VACC, which stands for Visionary, Architect, Catalyst, and Coach. So as visionary, the first focus for leaders, and again, this will be something that's very apparent to you all, is to think about creating value for all stakeholders. Traditional organizations really focus on generating returns for investors. And while that continues to be important, you can't raise capital if you don't generate a fair return for investors. There's other stakeholders. There's the customers that you serve. There's employees, colleagues in the organization, partners in the ecosystem, the societies within which we operate. So thinking about all the stakeholders and how do we create value for all stakeholders is really the first task of leadership. And normally the thing that really brings stakeholders together is a unifying vision. What is that inspiring vision that stakeholders can really stack hands on and get excited about? Particularly when you're trying to disrupt an established system. What is going to touch the hearts and minds of people? So developing a compelling and clear vision. In the case of the team I was telling you about, it was about reimagining the patient experience for hemophilia patients. Whatever your vision is, that becomes the North Star that really brings stakeholders together and aligns the interests of many. And then, we're teaching leaders to translate that vision into outcomes. What is the value we're actually going to create for different stakeholders, for customers, colleagues, investors, and other stakeholders? And to set long-term outcomes over the next 5 to 10 years, mid-term outcomes over the next 1 to 2 years, and short-term outcomes over the next 90 days, to really focus teams on putting all of their energy into things that directly generate value. The next act of leadership is the role of architect. And the role of architect is really about designing the business model, if you will, the value-creating system that is actually going to deliver value to each of the stakeholders. And this is about, again, things that we'll be familiar with, deeply understanding customers and what are their unmet needs, what are the needs that people have that could be addressed. Generating ideas about new products and services and innovative solutions. Thinking about the resources, what is the funding and talent, information, other resources we need? Who might contribute that? Who are the investors and colleagues and partners who could contribute resources? How do we get them engaged? How do we take those resources and apply them in effective ways to engage and serve customers and to develop and deliver those solutions? So all of those questions is really about architecting the value-creating system of the business. And most importantly, what is the value proposition that we're offering to each stakeholder? So every stakeholder in a business is both contributing value and receiving value. So customers are receiving the benefit of the product or service, and they're paying a price for that in some form or another. Investors are contributing capital and receiving a return. Colleagues are investing their time and energy and passion and being compensated. So everybody is both contributing and receiving. And as architects, as you design the system, you want to think about how do we maximize the net benefit to each of our stakeholders. And this all needs to work together as a fully integrated system. So we're teaching our leaders to think holistically at a systems level of the business, and for those leaders who are running like a network of businesses, how do you think about a complex system and flow resources, funding and talent and other resources into an array of different business opportunities. The next role is that of catalyst, and the role of catalyst really is about building relationships with people, getting them engaged and excited in the business, helping people form teams. And in our case, we're putting a big emphasis on empowered teams, autonomous teams, teams that are comprised of all the skills that are needed to allow the team to fulfill its mission, and to work in high collaboration and trust, to build psychological safety within the team, and also to build high collaboration and transparency with other teams, so that there's a tremendous energy of collaboration and partnership that happens horizontally, and in our case, less need to be working up and down the hierarchy in silos. And as leader, you're seeking to foster that collaboration without being in the middle of it. So rather than being kind of a roadblock, stepping back and looking at the network of teams, the network of external partners, and how do we foster close collaboration around the business model, right? How do we get everybody involved in contributing and receiving value through the network? And then there's the role of coach. And the role of coach is really about enabling the team to constantly learn and evolve. So the traditional approach in organizations, in our organization, was detailed annual planning and control. So we had this strategy process that lasted the first 6 months of the year, and then a budgeting process the second 6 months of the year. We had about 5,000 people involved in putting together all of those plans and budgets and so on. And this year we just scrapped it. We just stopped it. We're not doing that anymore. And rather we're shifting and encourage every team to operate in rapid 90-day cycles. So it takes tremendous persistence to build a system, to engage stakeholders like we're talking about, to work towards that vision, particularly when you're trying to fundamentally change a system. And so working in these 90-day cycles, focusing each cycle on learning, on discovering, and then every 90 days pausing and really taking a step back and reflecting and think, how did the last 90 days go? Did we accomplish the 90-day outcomes that we set ourselves? Did we take a step forward towards the aspiration to which we're working? What went well that we can double down on and do more of? What needs attention that we can do differently? Just really distill out the learnings. What pivots do we want to make? What adjustments do we want to make? And then what aspiration and prioritized initiatives do you want to set for the next 90 days? So working in these constant learning cycles, in this collaborative network, to build and deploy these value-creating businesses, and doing that at scale in pursuit of the mission, this is the journey that we're on. Underlying all of that, what our leaders are finding really important and helpful is a fundamental shift in mindset. So, traditional leaders really in our organization work with concepts of planning and control and direction, what's often experienced by teams as micromanagement. And underlying that are sort of unacknowledged and even unvoiced fears around scarcity of opportunities and resources. A strong desire for certainty, like we have to know with perfect detail what's going to happen over the next few years and have detailed, perfect plans. And then we polish the plans and create 100-page PowerPoint decks around the plans and so on. Anxiety about who's in charge. You need someone in charge. And we've got to be clear about who reports to who and get the hierarchy really clear. So these are some of the sort of, beliefs and mindsets that underpin a traditional approach to leadership, a traditional approach to building organizations. And in our organization, like, almost every large established enterprise, these are deeply embedded. This is just regarded as the way things are. This is just how business works. And so it's a journey to say, well, there's a different way to actually view the world. We can, rather than a mindset of scarcity, we can view the world with a mindset of abundance. We can recognize that there's no end to opportunities out there. There's no end to resources out there too. There's trillions of dollars of capital in the world, billions of people in the world. If we're not attracting the resources we need, or we're not finding opportunities, it's not because they're not there. It's because the business model, the value creating system that we have, isn't generating enough value to attract the different stakeholders. So it's fully within our hands, how we grow and create more value in the world. Mindsets of partnership rather than authority. Instead of worrying about who's in charge, thinking about who can we partner with, who can we help, how can we work together to really bring something new and important into the world. And rather than mindsets of certainty that keep us anchored in these detailed plans and budgets, a mindset of discovery, of constantly learning and exploring. And these limiting mindsets we call reactive mindsets, and they're really anchored on limiting beliefs. And one of the practices we're introducing to leaders, actually all colleagues across Bayer, is to become more self-aware of the limiting beliefs that we actually hold, that hold us back, and that unconsciously kind of make us small and make us avoid risks, risk averse is the word I was looking for. And once you become conscious of those limiting beliefs, it's actually possible to change your beliefs, to recognize that limiting belief that's holding me back, and to embrace a different, a more empowering belief. For the team that I was describing for you, that was working with the hemophilia patients, one of their shifts that they made in mindset was that innovation means millions of dollars of investment and years to create a very complex science-based product or solution. That was a belief they were holding. When they said innovation, that was the picture in their mind. And when they reframed that, and they recognized the limits of what that belief was causing for them, they embraced a different belief, a more enabling belief, that innovation means anything that improves the life of the patient and the journey of the patient. And by embracing that belief, that's how they suddenly saw there was this simple little innovation that could come up within a couple of months that actually had a meaningful impact on the life of 100,000 patients around the world. So learning that shift in mindset has really been greatly energizing for our leaders. And rather than that fear-based kind of reactive mindset that keeps us from pursuing our dreams, it's more a joy-based mindset that we encourage leaders to lean into. Because the whole of the system that we're introducing in Bayer, and what underlies the genius of what you all are doing, is really how incredible it is to be human. So we're building an organization that is really built around the potential of people, and recognize that in every single one of us here in the room, in every single person within Bayer across the world, and the thousands of partners we work with, the hundreds of millions of customers we serve around the world, there is just infinite beauty. There's infinite creativity. There's enormous experience. There's infinite passion, infinite love. And by embracing that and tapping into that, and tapping into the essence of who we are, when we bring our best selves, of the person that we really want to live into, when we connect to that and we figure out what was I born to do? What am I here for? What is my journey about? And how do I live into that with my full power, my full potential? And then how do I collaborate with others? And if we all show up like that, and we all start practicing this new approach to leadership and these new ways of working, that's going to unleash enormous, enormous value in the world. So I just want to share with you some of these comments. To all of you, the work you're doing is like a shining light. That's what it felt like to me coming in here this afternoon. You know, there's a lot of complexity in the world, challenges in the world. The world is going through so many rapid evolutions. And so to be in a room like this, full of folks like you all, there's just real joy here. There's a radiant light that can emit from this room, and that's rippling out across the world. And so I'm honored and proud to be part of an organization that is supporting you all. Kudos to Bio Foundation for the incredible work that you're all doing. Congratulations to our award winners and I can't imagine the journey you've each been on to be sitting here today. And I'm sure the over 2,000 people that applied for this award also have great stories to tell. I've met some of you this afternoon and touched my heart deeply. Really amazing what you're each doing. So thank you so much. Send energy and joy and love to every one of you to continue the amazing work that you're doing in the world. Thank you.